hello everyone, and welcome back to another session of Tech Talk with me, Triptisana, your host from Tech Jobs Fair. So, today it's a very interesting topic and session for all our developer friends and aspiring developer friends out there because I am here today with our very special guest, Miss Dayana Mick, who is originally a literature student in Colombia but transitioned herself into tech after a Rails Girls Berlin workshop in 2014. Skilled in Ruby on Rails, React, and she is now exploring DevOps. Diana will share on diverse IT path from web and mobile development to DevOps, cloud, security, machine learning, and engineering, and many more. So discover unique opportunities and challenges and in each domain. So, hi Diana, how are you doing today?
Hey, hey Tripti, thank you. I'm pumped to be here and I will be sharing some game changing, I hope, advice with this incredible audience here.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. We are really thrilled to have you today. But before we dive into the topic, which is introduction to technical IT and development career path, let's take a time to understand and uncover your journey in this industry so far.
Right, so as you said, I studied literature in Colombia. Then I came to Germany because I wanted to learn German. I never expected to become a programmer or developer. But I found this great community, which was Wales Girls Berlin and all about women. And I thought, okay, I might try it up. At the beginning, I thought we are going to program robots, but I was totally lost. In the end, I understood, and I was lucky to get an internship at Absolventa. And since then, I've been working in Marley Spoon, then Get Your Guide, and now I am at My Climate, and it's always a learning journey.
Awesome. So, whenever we think about developers or, software engineers, it kind of sounds like rocket science and, it must be difficult. And, there are people out there trying to figure out, how to start their career in, paths like this. So, could you provide like a quick overview of the key responsibilities or like the required skill set for such roles like developers or engineers, cloud engineers?
Sure. I will keep it basic and short because there could be a presentation for each of these roles, but I will keep it very high level. So web developers are the people who code the software that you see in a browser or in a web application. They can be front end or back end. Front end is more the UI with which the user interacts with, and
Mhm.
back end more with database like saving or updating the user's data. And they make the applications easy to navigate and appealing. So skills would be HTML, a backend language or framework like Ruby on Rails, for example, or a front-end language like TypeScript or JavaScript, or a framework like React. Then mobile app developers, they create the apps for mobile, so Android or iOS, and they would need to know Swift or Objective-C for iOS, or Kotlin or Java for Android. And DevOps engineers, DevOps comes from development and ops from operation. They focus on making the release of these applications streamlined and automated, that it's always the same without like minimizing human error. Cloud engineers. Cloud engineers became important because probably you have heard about serverless. So more companies are going from having their servers in premises to having their servers on the cloud. And there are like three main players, which are AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. And cloud engineers make the settings and configurations for this so that the applications can be deployed there.
Mhm.
Then security engineers, increasingly more important, as the name says. They take care that there are no vulnerabilities or to minimize them and create a strategy for the company. Data engineers. data engineers make the infrastructure for data, build data pipelines, and know, of course, SQL and database design and some tools like Kafka or Spark. Data analyst would be an entry data level career, and it's to gather the data and get insights out of it to share it with businesses. Data scientists do this, but on a deeper level using algorithms and statistical modeling. So they need to know statistics, maybe machine learning, Python or R. And
Mhm.
then the machine learning engineers, the last of the profiles, uh, like makes bridges the gap between the theory of the data scientists with the application. So they put these models into the application to train the models, which is becoming also more important with the advent of AI.
Great. I think that was very in depth, and um, you explained each roles beautifully, and I guess it's really important for the professionals out there who are looking forward to achieve their goals in these directions to understand the difference between such roles, because when we, like, as a in layman language, we just think of developers, right? We just don't go into deep into, maybe there's different section, like how in doctors there are like different fields, right? Like cardiologist, gynecologist, ortho. So yeah, I think we try not to go so deep when it comes to people working at the back end of in like engineers and all that. We think developer, like there's front end, back end. So I think thank you so much for sharing this detailed breakdown of the roles. That was really really nice and helpful, I guess. So now you shared about the responsibilities of these different roles, but do you think there are any common misconceptions about the job of software engineer or developer as a whole?
For sure, and I even had them before I started on this role. So I thought a software engineer or developer or someone who works with tech was like the 8 hours of work just writing code and not talking to anyone, like for this code to be perfect. But in reality, you have a lot of meetings. You probably have to communicate a lot with a cross-functional team, with designers, with product managers, with stakeholders. You have to convince people about your approaches. In some companies, you have to gain visibility. You have to do public speaking as well. And it's also good to communicate, like to prevent misunderstandings, because sometimes a project can totally like end in a catastrophe if you don't communicate well. So it's also a very difficult skill to communicate technical things maybe to people who don't know these technical terms. And I am still learning that, because you always think, yeah, this word everybody knows it, but then people don't know it. So it's like a misconception. So you have to work a lot in a team and
Yeah,
communicate a lot.
right. So we kind of think like you're just sitting in front of your computer and working and working and coding, and yeah, that's true. Like, that's what we think. Yeah, so let's talk about someone, who is trying to enter this maybe IT workforce, right? As a fresher, as a beginner who wants to start his or her career, right? So, what path or which role would you recommend for someone who wants to start their career?
Okay, definitely an entry level role. So maybe a software engineer or a data analyst, because you are not going to go from zero to machine learning engineer or something like this. But yeah, a developer or data analyst would be some good entry roles. uh, the good thing about these career paths is you can always change later, and you are not going to lose what you already learned. It is going to help you progress. So what I would do if I would start today is pick a language or a framework, and I wouldn't just pick anyone, but I would pick something that is popular. I would look in LinkedIn, okay, what are companies hiring for? So I get, because if I pick something very weird like a programming language that is called Julia or maybe Elixir, not many opportunities, lateral work opportunities are going to be there. And something with a community, so you can ask questions if you get stuck. And
Mhm.
then keep on to this at least for 6 months. I would also Google, like, and you will find a lot of these roadmap for JavaScript or for TypeScript in 2024. So there you have a structure. And then I would do a small side project, because learning, just learning and not doing, is not going to stick. And try to get an internship maybe, and also networking within this community of the language, because networking is also super important to land a job. And also not keep switching from technologies every month, but keep to something at least 6 months. Try it out. The next language is going to be easier because you already learned the fundamentals.
Right. That's interesting. It's funny how, they have to learn human language and computer language, different languages. And I mean, like, I'm pretty sure computer languages, like, there are tons and tons of languages out there, right? That you need to have knowledge of when you start your career as, like, coder or developer, right?
Right.
Great.
But stick to one that's popular and big enough, and then you will be fine.
Right. Before I move into my next question, I just have, like, a quick question for you. That is, like you mentioned, check out or find out which language does, or like the company is hiring for, or like join the community of those languages, right? So do you think, like, just doing maybe a graduate course, like maybe just being a graduate, is it sufficient, or is it good to have like a diploma or like an additional course on that particular language, if you know which language maybe you are looking forward to start your career with, or maybe
Yeah,
apply roles
I
for?
think it doesn't hurt. Like for example, I was looking into Vue, and I took some courses in Vue, online courses. Other people go through a boot camp, which
Mhm.
is maybe easier because it already gives you the structure. But if you can set the structure yourself, you will be that fine doing it online. And
Nice.
a certification, most of the people I know in the field don't have any official certification, like from a university or something like this. Some have, but it's not a requirement.
Yeah, I think probably they just do like a graduation in computer science and then join these boot camps and coding academies, like, to get the actual industrial knowledge of it.
Correct.
Nice. So, you mentioned earlier that, these like skills that you have in one of these areas can be transferred to other. Like, for example, if you have certain skills, like you said, to start as a maybe developer or software engineer, and then move forward to being engineer or machine learning engineering, right? So, can you provide us with like a very specific example how skills can be transferred, like maybe from software development, or when they're moving to DevOps or cloud engineering, so how the skills can be transferred?
For sure. So I was telling you, nothing gets lost if you want to like move to another like field, because there are so many.
Mhm.
So if I am a web developer and I want to move to DevOps, I already have the advantage. I know how programming language works. So probably in DevOps, I'm going to do more scripting to automate tasks, but this is going to be done via programming language like Ruby or Python. And I already have that, so I don't have to learn that from scratch. I
Mm.
also know like how does the software development cycle works, because I have worked in it. So as a DevOps, I know exactly, okay, what were the pain points of the developer, and how do I want to make this project like this to work in a more automated way, and which are the normal errors or failures that come, and how can I make them better. Of course, there, for example, there is version control. As a developer, I use it like GitHub or Git, and then as a DevOps, I will also use it. So is you have like this, you already were the user of what the DevOps is doing, so you can have a better like way to look at it. You were the customer of the person you want to become now, so you already have some technical knowledge to leverage it.
Right. So it's just taking like a step ahead.
Correct, and using things you already know, but maybe repurpose them, and of course continue learning, and because this is
Yeah,
a
learning never stops.
exactly.
No matter, even if you reach the peak, the summit, the learning never stops. And if, for any field, I guess, not just like the deep tech fields or anything, but in any area or any aspect of life, the learning never stops.
True, true, true.
So right now, like we have discussed, like, there are multiple roles that you've mentioned about, and you've given the breakdown of what are the responsibilities or skills required for such roles. But which of these roles you think are currently in demand, and maybe what trends do you foresee in next 5 years beside AI?
Sure. So I think all of these roles are in demand, but I think now is not as easy as a couple of years before to switch careers and obtain a job as a web developer as a career changer. No, I think AI and many things have changed this. So you really like need to show that you are made for it. That's why also networking, people who are already on the job and can give you some pointers is important. I see mobile developers becoming a bit more important than web developers because as we as users interact more with our phones, then the
Right.
applications have to be better for the phones. Cloud engineers also very important because as more companies go to serverless and want their servers to be managed by other people's, this configuration is going to be important. Security, every time there are more refined methods to hack applications. So your worst nightmare as a company is to be hacked or having a data leak. So security engineers, very stressful job, I think, but also very important, very demanded. And of course, the hardest jobs I think are all the data and machine engineering jobs because of their overlap with AI. Like everybody wants to try out AI and have an AI initiative. So I think these are going to be uh, more and more important.
Just a quick question here, like a pop-up question. AI has become so important right now, right, for everyone, right? It's like we take 3 meals a day, and then it's like protein in the meal. you know, we go to AI for anything. I mean, like Chat GPT is like just like everyone's best friend, I guess, right
Right,
now,
right.
from sending messages to maybe writing their caption for a picture on social media platform. Like ChatGPT is just best friend of everyone. So it's a revolution in tech industry, like how AI has come up. And I guess it's all the techies that has come up with the idea, right, of AI and how it got started, like you know but do you think like AI might replace the actual tech experts who actually brought AI,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
existence?
So I think this is a very current discussion. I open my LinkedIn and there are back and forwards. So I don't know, right? I don't have like a crystal ball. I think now, for example, a company employing 150 web engineers, maybe in the future doesn't need the 150, but 30 or something like that. So I see it having an impact because to the stand now, like it can do pretty amazing things, but
Yeah.
sometimes it is full of mistakes or
Hmm.
misunderstandings, and you cannot just deploy something that ChatGPT told you do it. Like you, there has to always be a proof. Like somebody has to go through it, like a
Yeah.
proofreading.
Yeah.
So I see impacting how many maybe web developers and but that's also a thing like I have been reading about because it's very interesting. It's a very moment in history that technology like has washed up a lot of jobs in history, but it creates a lot of jobs as well. So
True,
I
true.
think you also have to be up to date and know the technologies and try to see, okay, maybe this is like becoming obsolete, but how can I polish my skills to still get a piece of the cake of the AI?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So that in that case, the very beginning point comes back learning. Don't stop
Exactly,
learning. Keep upskilling yourself.
which is also very stressful, but yeah.
Amazing. So now you're in this industry, I think, for quite some time, a few years. So, what are the biggest challenges a person working in these position can face, or maybe you have faced?
Yeah, for sure. So as we were just talking about the topic, like technology evolves very fast, and you
Yeah.
always have to keep up now with these things, like which are the new frameworks. This can be exhausting sometimes, so difficult to maintain a work-life balance because you still have to get your work done, you still have your family or your free time if you want to have it, and then you have to keep up with this. So I think you have to become extremely disciplined to separate work from life and to have maybe a learning time, like a time box learning time, so you don't get overwhelmed. Also,
Mhm.
security threats, because at all levels you have to know even a bit about security, and maybe if you miss something, you're making your company vulnerable. So this is another thing. And another thing is when you do your little side project, it's one thing, but when it becomes a real world application with thousands of users, it becomes very complex. So the things don't work exactly as the theory says they should work, because everything becomes messier, and so you need to learn to deal with complex settings.
Great. So, like you mentioned, how mobile apps developer is, much more maybe required right now because people are always on their phone and they want everything handy, right? They wouldn't want to go to the website and scroll through website and rather just download the app and just check it out because it's so much more convenient, right? So, you know for example, let's say, like you said, like, there might be mistakes and then it's not really how it's in the theory. So for example, like, you test out the apps or your whatever process that you have. So do you also face difficulties once the app is launched and people are using it, but then there's some issue going, technical issue? How do you actually get to know that, like, as a team? Or is it difficult while the app is already in use and then they face certain issues, then just in the trial or the test run?
So you have this all the time. Like someone pushed a bug that wasn't caught by tests, or the person didn't test correctly, or the test was deactivated, or this was a very edge case thing and it just happened while the app is in use. And different companies have different approaches to it. The more normal I know of is like there is an incident, and depending, like if it's something with payment or something critical, is like a level 0 incident because it has the biggest priority. And so it has like a hierarchy of different incidents, and then like everybody like that knows something about that part of the application drops everything and tries to solve it, so fix can be deployed. It also depends like on the infrastructure of the company, because some companies have something like two deployments, and if something went super wrong, then they can go to the back one in like very quickly, and then maybe if people notice it fast enough, then it can be like quickly fixed and go to the version before. But it is a big chaos and stress factor sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, like, it sounds like one, so I can only assume how it happens, to people who are actually working on it.
Right, and then you're like, no, I deployed that, it was my fault. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So another quick thing, when we talk about these, maybe the languages, especially the programming languages that we use, is it company oriented, or is it like anyhow, maybe location, like demographically oriented, like, people in this location, they only use this programming language. However, there are like multiple languages, but we in this region we stick to this. Like, are there countries who just focus on one programming language, like every people or company in that particular region just focuses on one language? Is
that
it like that?
that is actually an interesting question. I have not looked into it. I would guess, but this is like a very uneducated guess, that people like and all over the world. I would guess there are some preferences, but I have
Mhm.
never looked at these studies. What I have seen is like normally each company has a stack or a set of stacks, because some even have like different parts of the application are coded in different languages, right? But I
Yeah.
think maybe many are going away from this model, because it's best if you have the people all in the same languages, and then they can interchange and understand each other's code easily. So normally they are going to have stacks by company and say we use here React with TypeScript, and in the backend we have Java, or I don't know, Ruby and Rails with Vue, or you will know the tech stack of the
Yeah.
company, usually listed in the job ad as well.
Right, because I think come across few company profiles where they are usually following with one maybe let's say programming language, and then because so many languages are coming up now and they want to try out, right? So then maybe they're like first time hiring for maybe another programming language expert to see how it works, right?
Hmm.
Whether that new programming language works better or not. So that's kind of like opening and maybe opportunity for people maybe having a knowledge of all rounder. Then I think that's much more beneficial for them as
Sure.
a engineer or a developer, knowing all the language bit by bit, a little at least.
Being a generalist, no, there are people
Yeah,
who are more generalist and know a bit on the surface, which is also
yeah.
a skill needed, or people who are specialized in a technology.
Yes. True. So now let's I mean like I just have one last question for you, and then I think this is the most important question from my end because we've always taught developers or engineers to be people who just are behind the laptop or their desktop, and they do not have a lot of maybe interest in communication or chatting or talking about their work and everything. But you being one developer, and then thank you so much that you're also a public speaker and you are here today sharing so many insights about this career path. And I think you mentioned in the very beginning that it's a misconception that people think it's just sitting behind a computer and working. However, they have meetings to handle, or like maybe things, or communicate, public speaking and all of that, maybe while presenting their idea and everything. So what are the essential soft skills that a IT professional should have, or maybe learn or develop, regardless of their technical? I mean, like, that's 10 on 10, but let's talk about the soft skills they should work on or have.
Sure. So, as you said, I already talked about communication. It is super important. I cannot like overstate the importance of it, to be able to explain details to non-technical stakeholders, but also to your team, because maybe you're working in a very big feature and you cannot do all by yourself. Like if it's a small app, okay, do it all by yourself. But if it's a very big thing, you're going to have to interact with the code of another person, and you are going to have to understand what does the product manager wants from you here, or what are the requirements for the user, and you're going to have to ask questions in a way that people can understand your questions. If you're more senior, you're going to have to mentor more junior developers, or when new people are joining the company, you also have to onboard them. And if you don't have like the openness or the clarity in your communication, you are not like, both people are going to be wasting their time. And also like for presentations or to share knowledge, it's super important. So I would encourage everyone to work on this. And it's not easy. Sometimes you think, oh, communication is soft, but even me, as I was thinking, how do I do this presentation for beginners maybe that don't know like difficult, like like jargon. And in my head I had already included a lot of this jargon, and then I was, no, I am biased, I have to think about how do I explain this without using these words, right?
Yeah, true.
So also teamwork and collaboration, also like not hiding, like writing good code is part of this, because you like don't write secrets in the code or difficult to understand code, but code that is also a form of communication where it's very clear what part is for what part. Because code more than written is going to be read by other people, and you're going to slow them down
Yeah,
if you're not very clear.
right.
Adaptability also, because as I said, it's very rapidly changing, so you need to adapt, and also to look, okay, maybe my job description doesn't fit anymore what is required in the future, so being open for this. And as I said, continuous learning, always like being in the know, what are the trends, what can I learn here, but also balancing it so you don't get burnt out.
Yeah, true. And it's very true for people also who communicate. Like, for example, me, you know, my job is to communicate, network, but still, when it comes to presenting something to my team or anything, I get nervous. I'm like, I don't know how to start, what to talk. It happens because no matter how much you communicate or work on your communication skills, there's always a gap, and we always have to keep practice and working on it. And to all my viewers here, I think it's very important because you might come up with an idea that could be another revolution in the IT industry. So work on your communication skills so that you can present your idea to your company or your team members. Right. I think this was a wonderful session, Diana. Thank you so much. And your insights have been really, really valuable. Thank you for your active participation, of course. And but we do have time constraints, because of which we have to bring this session to an end. However, and that doesn't mean, like, we will not come back again with other interesting topics and everything in the future. But before we wrap the session, do you have anything that you like to add from your end to all of our viewers today?
Yeah, like if you're trying to get into IT, it's not late, even despite how old you are. We have these limiting mindsets, but if you manage to take them away, you can do it. But just be aware it is a very rapidly changing landscape, and then you have to adapt your strategies.
Right. Guys, just be alert, active on what you want to do and how you want to start your IT career path. So, also a quick update for all the job seekers who are interested to build their career in tech industry, as we have different job fairs coming up, events coming up, both physical and virtual. So you can always log on to techjobsfair.com and find out more about it. And if you are a job seeker, if you want to attend any job fair, get your free tickets now. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you again later. Until next time, take care, everyone. And thank you so much, Diana, for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you as well.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.